Hello and welcome to MENSCHlife. I'm David Grossman, delighted to be back here in a snowy and very cold Toronto. I'm delighted to have with me here in the studio Arie, Raif. Okay, I'll get that straight eventually, Arie. Arie has incredible credentials. We're very fortunate to have him here with us in the studio today. I'll tell you a little bit about him. He's a diplomat with a distinguished record of government and military service of over 20 years. He has served as Israel's consul of Israel to Canada from 1976 to 81. He served with the Israeli Defense Forces with distinction, took an active part in the 1907 Six-Day War, the War of Attrition in 1979, and the Yom Kippur War of 1973. Holds a degree in education, studied political sciences and history. In 1988, he was appointed Consul General Honorary of Botswana to Canada by the President of Botswana. And in May of last year, he was appointed by the President of Israel, the Honorable Shimon Peres, as the President of the Peres Center for Peace in Canada. We're delighted to have you in the studio. Arie, thanks so much for being here with us. Let's start with something that's been on a lot of people's minds lately. I mean, there's a lot of things going on in the world with Egypt and Lebanon, which I'd like to touch on as well. But there is something that I wanted to mention, or an article you wrote recently, as I think we should start off. Israel's prime minister or prime problem? And your opening sentence was, the peace process is completely stuck once again. 2 years of blabbering, of lofty promises, and flowery speeches have gone by, but there is nothing. That's pretty harsh and critical on the Netanyahu government, Arie. Why do you feel this way?
First of all, shalom, and thank you for having me. I want to be very clear. Criticism of the Israeli government does not mean criticism of Israel. The two are parallel, but they are not the same. Number two, anybody who talks about left and right in Israel, because if you criticize the government, you are left. I'm sorry to say he's ignorant because he doesn't know what left is and what right is. There's no left and right in Israel by definition of movements which are fanatically to the left, or Trotsky's movement, Stalinistic movement, or fascistic movements to the right. Neither applies to Israel. There is a difference of opinion by Israelis like myself, who pay their duties to the countries, to their country, and who believe that there is only one issue which is important, is how to preserve this state for the Jewish people after the terrible 2,000 years of our history. I came to life as a product of Holocaust survivors. I made a promise to myself and to my parents. It will never happen again. We know how to defend ourselves. It's an expensive and a very high price to pay. I lost my brother-in-law, my friends. After 3 wars, I can tell you, enough is enough. So, I am not criticizing nobody in particular, but the government policies when it comes to the peace process. You have to understand that Israelis are changing. They are going into the extreme idea of we do not trust them, the Arabs, the Palestinians, and there are other Israelis who are the silent majority but do not have a voice, who say, just a moment, maybe we can reconcile, maybe we can come to terms, let's try, because the philosophy of the governments, previous governments, was very simple. There is no one to talk to. It's the wrong time to talk to. And there is no one to talk to about. We don't have a partner.
Previous governments said
Previous
that?
governments.
What about the current government?
Current government, definitely. So if Mr. Netanyahu claims that there is no partner to peace, he is wrong. There is always a partner in peace. The question is, are we ready to be partners to concessions? Because it will cost. It will cost us lands. And the idea that we gave lands and it didn't bring us peace is nonsense. We didn't give up nothing. We gave Egypt the Sinai after a terrible war of the Yom Kippur War, which we could have avoided. And we made a concession because we gained peace with them for over 35 years. Will it last due to the current situation we're talking today, where there are millions of Egyptians in the street trying to remove Hosni Mubarak?
Yeah.
I don't know. But we tried. We tried, and I remember we were accused, you support peace with Egypt, that means we will give away territories. What territories? The Sinai, which was the deception of telling us it's a military and protective buffer zone. The Sinai is nothing, neither is the Golan when it comes to buffer zones and security. Because today missiles, and for today missiles and modern weapons, that distance means nothing. And I mean it, nothing. Only those who never been in a war will not understand. They will not understand it.
Okay, but you said we gave up the Sinai and we got peace in
got
exchange.
peace.
True. But what about Gaza? We did not get peace.
Gaza was a unilateral exercise by Mr. Sharon with the idea that if he gives up Gaza because it was a burden on Israel, let's be honest about things. Enough with this deception. He gave up the Gaza Strip because he believed that he can get an arrangement or a better arrangement in the West Bank and keep the West Bank. Both are a dream. And then he recognized the fact that you cannot keep and control the West Bank. The solution is two-state solutions. Anybody who thinks otherwise is a dreamer and he doesn't understand the Middle East. He doesn't understand the conflict, because the conflict is that when you have a problem with your neighbor, you sit down, you negotiate. What are we afraid of the Palestinian state? They agreed to share with us the Jordan River from the point of view of security. They are not, now we know from the leaks of Al Jazeera, from the documents, that Olmert and Abbas came practically to an agreement, which at the last moment was imposed on Abbas by saying, sign it, and he asked for a few days, but Olmert didn't give it to him. But let's go back to this Palestinian arrangement. We have blocks of settlements in the West Bank, which the Palestinians were ready to leave in our hands under Israeli control, and in return we were giving them pieces of land in exchange in the Negev desert or other areas of the future border.
Yes.
Yet everybody said yes, but they want the right of return. Now from the documents we have learned that they were talking about 100,000 refugees that Israel will take, not millions. And Abbas said, I cannot ask Israel to take 5 million refugees because it will be the end of Israel. That's what he says. So all this nonsense, there is no partner, nothing to talk about, not the right time to talk about, it's a pure deceiving the people. We had it.
Okay, all right, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, I'm going to ask you, so what would you suggest? I mean, do you think Netanyahu should partner up with Tzipi Livni to move forward, since he can't do it currently? We're going to find out more. We're going to be back in just a moment with Arie Raif. Hang in there. Okay, so we're here with Arie Raif, and we're talking about the issue of establishing peace and a peace plan with the Palestinians. And Arie is very firm that Israel should be moving forward. And Arie, please tell us, how can we do that? I mean, the Netanyahu currently doesn't have the backing. Should he be partnering with Tzipi Livni? What are your thoughts?
Netanyahu has no will to come and conclude the issue. That's the problem. The major problem, and if you ask me why and how come we didn't come to any terms with the Palestinians so far, how come we didn't deal with the Syria issue? Because if we had a peace agreement with Syria, we would have diffused two issues. Khaled Mashal, the head of Hamas, sits in Damascus, and Syria also has full control of Hezbollah, so we could have resolved that problem too. But why nothing moves? Why did I say nothing? Because the major issue in Israeli politics, for those who want to understand once and for all, is the electoral system. Here is where we are stuck. We have a proportional system which donates the worst, and no one has a majority. We had, since the establishment of the State of Israel, we had 32 governments. That means that every 2 years we have a new government which collapses because of coalition agreements. So when you have no majority, when you cannot proceed with any arrangement because you will have a vote of non-confidence, what worries Mr. Netanyahu and Mr. Barak, who joined him recently, is how to preserve their own seat and continue ruling, quote unquote, under the current system. The issue is that religious, fanatical, messianic factors within the Israeli political system, I don't know where in other countries there are religious parties that run for elections, except in some backwards democracies.
You're talking about Shas and other Orthodox...
I'm talking about ultra-Orthodox fanatics who are partners to this coalition and who, by definition, threaten the government every day of a vote of non-confidence. Eventually, this is what will happen. Anytime we come close to an agreement, there is a vote of non-confidence, nothing happens, nothing moves. Changing the electoral system is the most important issue on Israel's political agenda. The proportional system cannot rule. Either we raise the number of people per vote, because today it's proportional, so you take all the votes that voted in the elections and you divide it by 120, and then there are those who suddenly have the power to make you to crown a king. 4 members of parliament can actually decide which government Israel will have. Now, the governments are not pro and against peace. Don't get me wrong. The government simply cannot decide because there is no majority in the Knesset. They'll never have a majority. Tzipi Livni, both Netanyahu and Barak, made it their agenda to dismantle this party. They will never take her into a coalition. So that dream, unless there is a tragic situation, and as you know, we always get together and unite ourselves when there is a catastrophe looming.
So you're saying that Netanyahu could not partner up with Tzipi Livni to form a majority?
No.
Or no?
No way.
I don't understand why.
Because Kadima, or this party that Tzipi Livni is now leading, contains members of former Likud members, former Labour members. What they want to do is make sure that this party disappears. Because how was it born? It was born in a sin, according to Barak and according to Mr. Netanyahu. Sharon splitted the Likud and took out members of the Likud and created Kadima. Then members of other parties joined him, centrist, if there is such a thing. But they are a threat. Kadima is a threat. Tzipi Livni is a threat, not an added value when it
Okay.
comes to create a coalition. So they will never take us.
So there's a problem with the electoral system, with the government structure. So what can be
It's
done
not
about
government,
that?
it's
What-
Knesset structure.
Okay, so what would you expect somebody like Netanyahu to do at this point in time?
At this point, he has to come to terms with Mr. Abbas, try to promote an arrangement. We know that the big issue, there are core issues between us and the Palestinians. One of them is Jerusalem, the other one is the settlements, number 3 is the issue of refugees, and number 4 is the border definition. So, if you are ready, as many Israelis are, to debate the issue of sharing Jerusalem, we're not sharing Jerusalem. There is 5 square kilometers of the Holy Basin, so known as the Holy Basin, which is controlled today, I repeat, controlled today by the Waqf, which is the Islamic organization, the Palestinian organizations. We don't control the Temple Mount. All they want is this 5 square kilometers and declare it as a capital of the Palestinian state. You know what?
In Jerusalem.
In Jerusalem, I have no problem with that. It will change nothing. We as Jews are not allowed to go to Temple Mount because we don't know where the Holy of the Holies was, so we might sanctify it. I don't think that we should get so entrenched in the idea that we have to keep Jerusalem full. As a matter of fact, the Palestinians agreed, according to the leaks of the documents to Al Jazeera, Olmert and the Palestinian Abbas agreed that many of our neighborhoods in Jerusalem will remain under Israeli control. So if that is resolved, if we know that the refugee issue is not the most critical, and if we know that security arrangements of the Jordan River to protect us from, God forbid, anything that comes from the east,
Yeah.
and if we can come to exchange of territories, the difference is maybe 2 or 3% of territories exchange. What are we worried? They have no army. We have the strongest air force, the number 4 strongest air force in the world. We have what we have, and we do not confirm or deny. An army which has a tremendous power. What do the Palestinians have that threaten
Okay,
us?
all right. I know you've touched on this. We got to take a short break, but here's the question. We're going to, when we come back. I know you've touched on this, but when Israel withdrew from Gaza, besides the fact that it was horrendous dealing with getting these people out of Gush Katif and the aftermath, we got rockets in Sderot. So what will happen if we get rockets from the West Bank? Hang on, we'll be back in just a moment with Arie Raif. Okay, we're here with Arie Raif, and we're talking about the peace process, and lack of peace process. Arie, the question is, when Israel withdrew from Gaza, it got rockets in Sderot, just dismantling, I think, about 7,500 people, or how many people had to leave Gush Katif? Was it not a large number?
No.
Okay, and that was a nightmare. What will happen in the West Bank? How many people do you think would have to leave the West Bank to come up with a fair peace plan? And number 2, rockets from the West Bank raining down on what? Where? Jerusalem? Tel Aviv?
Listen, mythology is a beautiful idea in this neighborhood. Everybody is trying to scare you. The Prime Minister is currently telling us that Iran should be attacked. When the head of the Mossad comes and he says there's nothing to worry, they have nothing. Then the claim that it can be dangerous to leave the West Bank to the control of the Palestinians. You know what? In the last 5-6 years, it's nothing happening. Nobody fired rockets from
the West Bank.
In the West Bank. So I wouldn't worry. Abbas has it. The Palestinians.
So maybe we should leave it alone.
No. There's not an issue of leaving alone. You have to create a situation of 2-state solutions. We have to separate from them, because as long as we are conquerors, it's a problem. There is no liberal conqueror in the world. There is no such a thing. Nobody, if Toronto was occupied tomorrow by the Americans, you would resist. So don't dream in technicolors. We have to separate from them. The other issue is, if you take the Israeli Arabs, which is a major issue now in Israel, and you keep the West Bank, which is a one-state solution, we will be a minority. In 2020, demographically, the Arabs will be a majority. So how do you save this state? The whole issue is, as I told you from the very first sentence, how do you preserve this state and without being labeled left, right, or nonsense? Realistically, people in the United States and in Canada, Jewish people and non-Jewish people, have to understand the price of defending settlements or keeping territories, quote unquote, vis-a-vis the challenge of coming to an understanding and reconciliation is much more important. I'd rather take the risk of peace than the agonies of war. War is a dirty issue. You know war only when you go there. I don't need anybody to preach to me about war, because none of them smelled war. When you smell war and you bury your brother-in-law, you bury your friends, I am ready to talk to these people. Fanatics of fanatism, messianism, taking the Bible and transforming it into a real estate book is nonsense. We have to live. Live and let live.
But what about the, wasn't the mandate for Palestine, didn't it indicate that those territories were legally supposed to belong to Israel?
No mandate of such. There was a law. There is a law in Israel which annexed the Golan Heights and Jerusalem. Those are the two laws. When it comes to the Syrian territory, if we were really serious and we have negotiated with Syria, yes, there will be a referendum.
The Balfour Declaration is what I meant.
Are you going to history? History in the Middle East is made every 5 minutes. As we see today in Egypt, 8th date of the revolt, things change. You know who is the real decision maker today? It's not governments, it's not their propaganda, any government, including Israel. It is time now, and that's what changed, is that people, because of the social medias, because of Facebook, because of Twitter, because of the internet, people are making decisions, not anymore governments. And I'm telling you, the leaks, WikiLeaks, Al Jazeera leaks, are teaching me that everything I believed in for the last 30 years came true. Hope and deception, that is the issue. They give us hope and then they deceive us. What was so bad when Anwar Sadat of Egypt came to Golda Meir in '72 and said, let's have a peace agreement, give me the Sinai. If not, I'm crossing the Suez Canal and I will sacrifice 1 million Egyptians. Golda Meir, my prime minister at that time, said, I don't think he's serious, I don't want to talk to him, he can't even cross the Suez Canal. Well, Yom Kippur War, a year later, he crossed the Suez Canal. We lost 2,700 young men, 2,700, it's a lot of graveyards. We have 3,000 wounded, and what happened later on? The right wing, Mr. Begin, right? Nonsense. He understood peace is needed, so he was left. He gave back the Sinai to Sadat and he signed an agreement. We could have avoided. We had the London agreements. We had the best deal between King Hussein, the father, the Americans, the Israelis, and the Palestinians. A deal was signed in London between Shimon Peres, then Minister of Foreign Affairs, and it was a confederation of managing the West Bank by Jordan, by Israel, by the Americans, supported by everybody. Beautiful arrangement. Electoral system kicks in. Shamir was the prime minister. It was a rotation situation. And he said, I don't want to confirm this agreement. We lost again. We had to be forced to sit in Madrid for a meeting. The Americans asked Rogers, who was then Secretary of State. He said, people, you are neighbors, you should sit down and negotiate. What are you worried? What are we worried of coming to an arrangement with the Palestinians and diffuse that issue so we can live in peace? What's our problem? Today?
Well, I guess there's a fear, a history there. I mean,
No.
you started off talking about 2,000 years worth of Jewish repression and all the things that led up to it, and the history of 3 no's after 1967. Israel attacked. I mean, the Arabs have never accepted the Jewish state, and the Palestinians still won't accept a Jewish state.
The Palestinians accepted us, the Egyptians accepted us.
But isn't that why things fell apart just recently? Because Netanyahu said, well, listen, they're not going to accept us as a Jewish state, therefore there's no premise to move ahead with talks.
Do we ask Canada to be recognized as a Christian state? I mean, this nonsense of asking the Palestinians to recognize me as a Jewish state, I need their recognition.
Okay,
I don't need their recognition.
That's a fair answer. Okay, we're going to take a short break. I'm just going to mention the phone number. If you have a question for Arie, we've got just a few minutes left. The number is 416-736-9559. Hang in there. We'll be back in just a moment. We have 5 minutes left. If you have a question for Arie, and then we've got a little bit of entertainment coming up for you a little bit later. Some singers, Sonshine and Broccoli, kid singers. I don't know how it fits in with our theme today, but listen, you know what? We always want to try and have a good time when we can. Arie, fascinating discussion. So let's talk for a moment about Egypt. It certainly seems on the surface when people are speaking up, whether it's because of Facebook or whatever, it seems to be a positive. But that people are talking about the Muslim Brotherhood possibly stepping in. Do you have any concerns about the outcome of Egypt and also in Lebanon with Hezbollah, bringing down the government and now, putting up, I can't remember the name of the guy that they put in there.
Look, Egypt was our best guarantee for peace so far. I hope it will continue. Do you ask me to make an analysis of what is happening? Mubarak will go eventually, today or tomorrow. It doesn't matter. It's over. We better get used to the idea that there is a change in the Middle East. Our concern in Israel is right now A, what will happen with the peace agreement? And number 2, what will happen with the gas supply? We have 40% of our natural gas supplies come from Egypt. Maybe you didn't know it, but we have to protect it. Are we coming into an era where the army in Egypt, and I'm talking General Field Marshal Tantawi, the chief of staff, like in Tunisia, the chief of staff took the powers. I think the army in Egypt is respected. It might take the power and lead an internal, discussion with the opposition, and act as an interim government until things will settle. Muslim Brothers, another story. A minority. Egyptians don't like them. There is always a number of fanatics in every country. We have it too, who propose jihads, quote unquote. Sure. Will they be, or will the Egyptian people allow an Al-Qaeda base in Egypt to rule them? My answer is no. The fact is that they kicked out al-Zawahiri, who is the deputy of the Al-Qaeda. They will not allow Sharia fanatic laws to be governing Egypt. Women in Egypt are free. You know, a woman in Egypt can carry her own last name. She doesn't have to follow the husband's last name. There are certain liberties in place. I don't think the Egyptian people want to see another continuation of Mubarak by Suleiman. Puppets and dictators in the Middle East, their story is over. It will come eventually to Jordan, to Morocco, to Syria.
But what about Lebanon now?
Lebanon,
with the Hezbollah,
Lebanon is Iran.
Gaining power effectively.
That's right.
And stockpiling weapons on the border.
It's
of
a
Israel.
problem with the Hezbollah. They know that if they will or try to control, absolute control of Lebanon, Israel will have to take action. And they are not stupid. They know that if they react, Israel will take action. We went to Lebanon twice.
Yeah, and wasn't a good story.
In many cases, people claim that nothing was achieved. I don't think so. But let's be honest about it. Right now, Hezbollah is sitting tight. Hamas has a problem with certain splinter organizations in the Gaza Strip, which they do not control. We do not control either. There are some aspects of our fanatic groups we cannot control. There is a Jewish underground. Let's not be unfair to the story, because we are fed by official propaganda. Israelis my age had enough of it. We don't believe, we don't trust a lot of stories, and now with the leaks, we know that we were right.
Arie, unfortunately, we are out of time. I want to thank you so much for coming here today and sharing all this with us. Fascinating conversation, and I hope you will come back and see us before too long so we can hear from your point of view. We're going to be back in just a moment with Sonshine and Broccoli, a little bit of entertainment. Hang in there. Welcome back to MENSCHlife. We have with us Lisa Sonshine and Brock Burford. Thank you both very much for coming. It's great to... Lisa, you really are sunshine. Look at that smile. And Brock, too. You guys are
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Big smiles. Lots of
Thank you.
sunshine. Great to have you here in the studio. Brock's got his guitar, and the name of the group is Sonshine and Broccoli. Sonshine, and of course, Sonshine is spelled S-O-N. If we see it on the screen, they'll show us S-O, because of the website, sonshineandbroccoli.com. So, welcome. So, what have you guys been up to lately?
So much has been going on. We just launched our second CD.
Your camera, I think, is over there.
Feel the beat. Feel
All right.
the beat. It's been an amazing success. We just submitted this album to the Canadian Junos for Best Kids Album. So fingers crossed. We're praying for a nomination.
Good luck.
And thank you. And we have just been touring and rocking it out with the kids and just having a great time. We're really blessed.
Excellent. So you're going to rock it out with the adults a little bit today?
Yeah,
Or-
here
That's
we go.
what we're doing. Yeah.
All right.
We want to welcome you here today.
My name is Sonshine.
And I'm Broccoli here to play. We're gonna sing songs and have so much fun. So let's get started before the day is done. We're gonna sing along and clap our hands to the songs that we love. So make some noise and shout hooray and raise your hands above. We're gonna sing along and clap our hands to the songs that we love. So make some noise and shout hooray and raise your hands above.
That is right.
Good, clap. clapping
All
there.
right,
You
thank
got
you.
that.
I need the encouragement. Really, I'm lucky. I think was I on time there? With the
Yeah,
You were
everything.
good.
I was very
we
impressed.
could use a percussionist.
Yeah.
Wow, what
Yeah.
energy! Holy smokes, that was great, guys.
Thank,
thank
you.
you.
Incredible. So now, so what else? You were saying that you go to Israel every year.
I do. I have such a love for Israel. I've been going for over 10 years. Over 10 years.
Every year.
Almost every year I go.
You're a lucky duck.
I'm a very lucky duck. And,
Yeah.
you know, hopefully Brock and I are thinking of really doing something in Israel to do almost like a peace tour and getting children together from the Arab countries and
Great
the
idea.
Israeli kids together. And music brings it all together.
That's a terrific idea.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, fantastic. And so, okay, so you've got this song that you submitted to the Junos.
Yeah,
Our
our
whole
album.
album, actually.
The entire
For-
album?
Yeah.
Yep.
And no, we also have this. This is we're offering a giveaway. today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is called Feel the Beat.
Feel the beat.
And there's a couple of giveaways, so people can actually, I think it's probably easy if they just email me, david@jewishtvshow.com. david@jewishtvshow.com. Email me with your address, and the first two that we receive will send you out a CD.
Yes, for your listening pleasure.
Okay, we're going to take just a short break, and then
Sure.
we're going to be back, and I think we might get a little bit more Sunshine and Broccoli here playing. So hang in. We'll be right back.
Just the summer coming up.
Okay, we're back. What's going on this summer?
Oh, we have a lot going on in the summer. We are doing a bunch of concerts, and we're associated with this camp Zodiac. They're an amazing camp, and we're actually doing a bunch of concerts for them, and we're working at the camp for their music. And we're also going up to their camp, their affiliates camp, Tamarack,
Okay,
and we're doing
yes.
music up there, and we're doing a huge tour all around camps and schools coming up in the spring and the summer, and so
So you guys are busy.
oh, we're
We
going to
are
be
very
everywhere.
busy, but we're so happy. We love what we do. We don't even feel like it's work because we're so
Nice.
lucky.
That's the best.
Yeah.
When you have that. And is this your first CD?
This is our
or-
second album.
Right.
And they're both available on iTunes or our website, sunshineandbroccoli.com.
Right.
And both albums are very different. The first album is very grassroots. It's very imagination. This album, the music content is spreads the whole spectrum
Everywhere.
of country to R&B
Yep.
to reggae to
Excellent.
soul and
Yep,
That's
different
great.
topics, riding on a subway, doing a turkey dance.
Turkey
you know,
dance
yeah,
on the subway.
Yeah.
Not on
well,
the
not on the
subway.
subway. yeah, that's a different
Okay.
song.
Now, do you have one more song for us? Something about
Yes,
Israel
We
and
sure
peace or
do.
something?
You know, Broccoli, I gotta tell you, I have friends from all over the world.
I have friends from all over the world too. Where are your friends from?
I have friends from Israel.
I have friends from England.
I have friends from Africa.
I have friends from France.
But you know what the most amazing thing about all of our friends are? They all have two,
Eyes.
ears, and one.
Nose.
That's right. I've got friends from all over the planet, from east to west they run. All different types of people come together. Together we are one. Different backgrounds, different beliefs. We celebrate different holidays. Let's travel around the world and hear the different ways to say hello, hello. Shalom from Israel, Ola from Spain, and Jumbo from Africa. Now let's get on the plane.
Ni hao from China. Calimera from Greece.
Let's all dance together and create world peace. We can see that we are one family. Two eyes, two ears, and one nose. I'd love to learn about the world we live in and how far the river flows. Hola!
Thanks, guys. I don't think it's going to get any better than that today. That was amazing.
Thanks.
Shalom. Thanks, everybody, for watching. It was great to have you with us. Sunshine and Broccoli. Don't forget, send an email. David@JewishTVShow.com. We got a couple of CD giveaways. Sunshine and Broccoli. Feel the beat. Check out the website and feel it here on MENSCHlife. Till next week, don't forget to be a mensch. Look at the energy I have. You guys have to come back every
Yay!
week.
Mensch TV.
See you next week on MENSCHlife. Woo!